So today we're going to rank the Hackerman series, also known as Watch Dogs, the Ubisoft franchise that was supposed to be revolutionary and it was going to be better than GTA, and then it kind of just dwindled and died. Why we're ranking them games? I don't know, I'm out of ideas. Now how it's going to work, I'm not going to bother with the AD stuff like I usually do with the ranking series. There's only 3 games, so I'll just go from worst to best. Yeah, sounds cool, nice and simple, very good, let's go. Right, let's get the obvious one out of the way. Watch Dogs Legion. Yeah, it's definitely the worst Watch Dogs game for quite a few reasons, to be honest with you. First off, Watch Dogs Legion, what's it about? Well, DedSec gets framed for an attack in London, and everyone hates DedSec for some reason. There's conspiracies behind it, and the whole goal of the game is for you to build an army, a DedSec army, but it's focused on actual people of London. So you're recruiting the people to rise up against, you know, the people that are controlling them. You know, basically Assassin's Creed and Templars. That's basically what it is, except that for some reason DedSec's smarter than Assassins because they raise an entire army in this game in like 2 weeks or whatever it is. So, you know, less we talk about it, the better. The story is... I mean, it's a story, okay? It's a cool story. I guess it's like a cool idea of a story, building this army to take on the people that abuse their power. You know, they take it out on civilians. There's people being arrested before they've actually made any crime, stuff like that. That's a cool idea, but you desperately need a character to latch onto when it comes to this stuff so you can build the army with them and see how they grow and evolve over the course of the game. But in this game, you don't really have a main character. I mean, you can have a main character, you could pick a main character if you want, but it's all about switching to different variations of people. So you can have, I don't know, a 25-year-old construction worker that is really good with drones. You can have him and you can use them, and you can play with him for the entire game. Or you could play an 80-year-old grandma that sprints at full speed like an athlete. Apparently she doesn't have arthritis in her knees, and she's apparently a secret spy for MI6.
Shut up, you stupid fucking cunt. All you do is complain, complain, complain.
Or whatever it is, MI5, whatever it is. There's a variety of characters, but unfortunately that variety quickly dwindles when you realize most of these characters have the exact same abilities, just slightly altered, ever so slightly altered, and it kind of just ruins the whole point of the game. Now, I will give credit to Ubisoft. This was a very interesting idea and a dangerous one to take on because, well, it's not really been done before. Not at least a game that I have played, okay? I haven't played a game that has done something quite like this. The closest thing that I can think of is the Shadow of Mordor games. Well, the Middle-earth games, we're calling that Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War through their Nemesis system. And I'm getting some sunlight through my window. Can we not have the sunlight? Wait, maybe sunlight works. But the reason I mention that is because all those enemies in the Nemesis system have like these different character traits, you know, different voices, different gameplay variations to how you have to kill them. And with Watch Dogs, it's just gameplay variations of what you can control rather than the enemies this time. And I like that idea, but it just falls so flat. It's just so flat after a while. Like you play it for about 2-3 hours and you're like, okay, this is actually quite cool. This is actually quite enjoyable. But the gimmick wears off so incredibly quickly, and it just makes the rest of the game a slog, just an absolute slog. There's also quite a few issues with the game specifically, and they're not even minor issues. There's some pretty big ones, to be honest with you. First off, AI is awful here. It's probably the worst AI in any Watch Dogs game. It's clearly rushed through the door, but there's also the voice acting.
Fam, you wanna make shit right? Then let's do it. Shit's worse now than it's ever been.
I couldn't agree more. That's why I contacted you. Albion haven't simply shut down the government. They've sullied the Palace of Westminster, the Great Bell, with their propaganda. Do you understand what that looks like? If you really want to rekindle some of the people's fighting spirit, then restoring the clock tower would go a long way.
The voice acting is genuinely god awful. I always go on about Ubisoft's quality of voice acting, okay? I'm not blaming the voice actors themselves, you know, the directors decide how these people act in the booth, okay? But here, I don't know if they used AI for the voices. They probably didn't. I mean, this was before AI really did start taking off, because that was only about a year ago. But the voices just don't sound right. There's some very weird sounding voices, and I'm not going to complain about it too much, because at the end of the day, the more variety in voices you've got, the better, right? Because each character is meant to sound different, but they sound so incredibly weird. They don't sound human, some of them. Maybe I'm just not versed in accents, you know what I mean, or different dialects or anything like that, but everyone speaks English anyway. But it's just very off-putting. Very off-putting. I could moan about all these small things for ages, but the reality is, even as a Watch Dogs sequel, it does absolutely nothing better than the previous games. In fact, it does it all worse. It does it all worse. Gunplay feels worse. Driving feels worse. The map itself is worse. I was really pissed off when I started it because, you know, this is the first game that's set in London in fuck knows how long. I can't remember how long it's been since a game was set in London. And they basically completely, they do London, but they replace so much of it, it gets to a point where, like, why have you even set it in London? It doesn't look like London. You know what I mean? There's so many areas that are obviously changed because it's set in the future and all that. But, you know, if you're going to set it in London, at least, like, try your best to show off a realistic version of it. I mean, you did it in Assassin's Creed Syndicate with the Victorian times. Obviously, it's not the same. But, you know, you've got assets there. You could nick some of the assets. But overall, it's just a really tough game to enjoy, and to be honest with you, couldn't even finish it. The only real positive is the Bloodline DLC. The Bloodline DLC follows Aiden Pierce. We'll talk about Aiden Pierce in a little while. And it basically is a continuation of Watch Dogs 1. They make some very interesting choices, but I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. The DLC itself is better than the base game. It's better than the base game. It's more enjoyable. You've got an actual story to follow that you can, you know, latch onto, and you get to see Aiden again. But it's just another DLC. You know what I mean? It really didn't do anything particularly unique. It didn't do anything new. It's not like you know, Freedom Cry, for example, where you follow Adewale and you've got this whole new map and you've got this whole new like story going on that is actually interesting to follow outside of, you know, having Adewale there. You know what I mean? It's a hard way to explain it. Basically, Aiden, it's cool to have Aiden back, and that's the best bit about the DLC. But outside of that, it's crap. It's just not that. It's just not worth playing. It's just not worth playing. And that goes for the other game modes as well. That zombie game mode that came out. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Okay? It's the worst Watch Dogs game. If you disagree, that's completely fine. Leave your comments down below. I really like you seeing the comments. We can argue about it if you want to. I'm completely okay with that. But yeah, for me, nah. Get out of here. Fuck off, Watch Dogs Legion. It's shite. This is where it gets a little controversial because people have their favourites here. I think Watch Dogs Legion is the pretty safe one to say it's the worst one because most people don't like it, at least from what I know anyway. But for me, Watch Dogs 2 is the second best Watch Dogs, okay? Why am I saying this, okay? Well, Watch Dogs 2 kind of took away everything that I liked about Watch Dogs 1. Bear with me. Firstly, you follow a new character called Marcus. Marcus is a hacker man. He hacks stuff and he's cool and he drinks and he's like really upbeat and he's, you know, he's a millennial. He's like a proper millennial. He's like really cool and he makes memes and jokes, and basically they take away all the dark atmosphere stuff that is in the first game that is actually probably the most interesting part of the world, and they replace it with this very jokey, very comedy feeling, like an action blockbuster comedy type thing, like a GT, like in a way it's more GTA 5 than GTA 4, whereas Watch Dogs 1 is more GTA 4 than GTA 5. That's the way I could put it. And it just takes away from the experience for me. I get why they did it, because so many people had problems with Watch Dogs 1, with Watch Dogs 1's world building, its atmosphere. They said it was boring, it was too grey, there wasn't any life to it and all that. And I guess I could see that. But I also just preferred that dark atmosphere. That's just me. But each of these characters, these new characters that add in, they bring back T-Bone, they've got Horatio, and they've got the, what's his name? I don't remember his name. The mask guy. The mask guy. He's in Legion as well. Wrench. They've got Wrench, and they've got some other characters, but none of them are particularly memorable, to be honest with you. Especially Horatio. Horatio, I'm going to spoil it here. Horatio dies in Watch Dogs 2, just completely out of the blue. And like, oh no, not Horatio. Horatio's dead. Oh no. Anyway, let's move on. That's literally what happens in the game. They get a bit pissy about it. They go on a revenge mission. That's it. He's never mentioned again. There's a clear disconnect in storytelling from Watch Dogs 1 and Watch Dogs 2. It's because they focus so much on the gameplay. This is where I'll give Watch Dogs 2 a lot of props. Watch Dogs 2 definitely improved in various aspects when it comes to gameplay when compared to Watch Dogs 1. It improved on the hacking. They added more options for the hacking, specifically with vehicles that you can now really control them without having to get in vehicles, which, you know, it's a pretty cool idea. And there's also a bunch more gadgets, and there's a lot more focus on level design in a way, because so much of it is focused on hacking this time around, whereas Watch Dogs 1 didn't really force you into hacking. They said hacking's there, but you can also be John Wick. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. Yeah, so I was talking about vehicles, wasn't I? So the hacking stuff is it's more improved with vehicles because it's more interesting to use, and the level design is really built for hacking this time around, whereas Watch Dogs 1, as I was saying, is more like a John Wick simulator, if anything. And I really did enjoy that aspect, but like I said, I just prefer the world of Watch Dogs 1, and I prefer the story of Watch Dogs 1. San Francisco is built, like, it's amazing to look at, it's fun to explore, but there's just not much to do in it for me. Like, there's no incentive to explore. It's fun to explore, but there's no incentive to do it. Ugh. So I'm not going to do it, and I just focus on the story, I level up, I do the crafting stuff, bing bang bosh, and the game's over, and the story ends, and I'm just like, oh, okay, sick, that was a game. You know, it just didn't have that impact that Watch Dogs 1 had on me, because I enjoyed it back in 2014 when I played it. Yeah, I was disappointed that the visuals weren't as good with Watch Dogs 1, but I don't know, it just had a better impact on me. I don't even, it's not a valid, like, reason to put Watch Dogs 2 lower, but in my opinion, I just prefer Watch Dogs 1. You know, it's just one of them. It's just one of them. It's hard to explain. But overall, Watch Dogs 2, I can totally see why people see it as the best Watch Dogs game because of the amount of improvements that were implemented for gameplay. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I don't think it's a bad game at all, but it's definitely Ubisoft. It's definitely Ubisoft. You know what I mean? It's the most Ubisoft Watch Dogs game you could play. They try to be cool. They try to be down with the kids or whatever with the writing and the dialogue and the way they do the story and how they add in like mission objectives, which is meant to be like down with the kids and all that stuff. It was just too much. It was just too much. Okay, Watch Dogs 2 for me, not that good, but I totally get why you disagree with me. Bang, bang, bosh. And obviously, Watch Dogs 1 is clearly my favorite Watch Dogs game. Let's talk about it, okay? So, you follow a guy called Aiden Pearce. He's a very depressing dude, okay? He's very monotone, very, I guess, stoic. He's not very emotional in this game. He doesn't show many emotions, okay? The whole plot is basically, Aiden does a hack that goes wrong, and the people that he hacked weren't very happy about it, so they decide to send a message by crashing his car, which unfortunately got his niece killed. And then he goes on a revenge mission. That's the story. That is the story. It then gets involved with various gangs, human trafficking, that kind of thing. And as over the course of the game, Aiden becomes less focused on revenge and becomes more of a in general vigilante. His own goals is not as selfish as they were at the start of the game. Okay, basic story. But I enjoyed it quite a lot. Even on replay. Is it the most interesting story ever? No. Is it cliche? Absolutely. But it's still an enjoyable experience. I also think the hate for Aiden's voice actor, I think it's a little over the top, okay? Yeah, it's not like the best performance in the world, obviously. It's never going to be with a character that is meant to be super depressing, and meant to be super stoic and never emotional, whatever. It's not going to be particularly memorable. But what the stuff that he had to work with, I think he did really well with, okay? That's just me. I also love it's ironic because Watch Dogs is about hacking, okay? I'm going to talk about gameplay. It is about hacking, but I also just kind of love how the gunplay feels in Watch Dogs 1. Unfortunately, on PC, the mouse and keyboard, it doesn't really flow that well. There's like some weird aim assist going on, like it slows down your aim for some reason, but I played it on controller. And I don't know, I just feel like the gameplay is so much smoother in Watch Dogs 1 compared to Watch Dogs 2 and Legion. Mainly how I play anyway. I do tend to avoid the hacking stuff because it's kind of pointless really in these games. Sure, Watch Dogs 2 offers some more creativity to it, but the most efficient way of taking out enemies or navigating is just shooting them. You know what? You're shooting them or attacking them with melee attacks, you know what I mean? That's the most efficient way to do it. Hacking is just kind of in the background. And I'm okay with that because it's really damn cool. The animations of Watch Dogs 1 are just the most John Wick-esque thing you can have. You're jumping over cover, you just go bang, 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 take your headshot, and you just stand there, hands in your coat, just, yep, I did that, because I'm Aiden Pearce. It's just cool. I also think the gunplay is actually the most solid in this entry compared to the others. Watch Dogs 2 does make some improvements, especially for mouse and keyboard. I don't know, I feel like Watch Dogs 1 has a lot more weight to it. It's just got that better feeling to it. And plus, Watch Dogs 2 really forces you down the non-lethal approach, so the story doesn't disconnect from the gameplay. Whereas Watch Dogs 1, they just allow you to kill people because he's a vigilante. He kills people basically for fun to watch the end of the game, that, in my opinion anyway. But it's just an enjoyable experience. I also don't think the driving's as bad as people make it out to be. I think the driving is completely fine. It's not the best driving in the world, but it's not the worst, you know what I mean? There's plenty of games out there that have significantly worse driving mechanics, in my opinion. I'm just saying, in my opinion. So driving ain't too much of an issue. But yeah, once again, going back to it, the hacking just isn't that in depth. It's very disappointing, to be honest, with the way Ubisoft hyped it up initially with its marketing, with the hacking, you know, the blackout system, trains, traffic lights, ground pipes, whatever. You explode the ground pipes and it comes out the fucking ground, like, you know what I mean? That's cool, but there just was no depth to it, and there was no real reason to use it. And they're also just quick time events. Which is a very odd choice, to be honest with you. I get it, it's smoother for gameplay when you're running around shooting people and, you know, doing everything else. But at the same time, I feel like the hacking should be a bit more, you know, engaging rather than a bloody quick time event. You know what I mean? But that's just me. That's the problem with all of these Watch Dogs games, to be honest with you. But yeah, those are just my thoughts on these games. There's not much to talk about, unfortunately. You know, these games don't have much depth to them, unfortunately. But I also feel like I've gone over everything that I need to say about the games, because there's just not a lot that's memorable about them. You may feel different. Please let me know in the comments. I would like to talk to you about it. But for me, they're just not that memorable, and Watch Dogs 1 is the best out of the lot, and that came out in 2014. It has been a decade. Wow, close to a decade. It's been 9 years. We'll give them that. But as usual, like the video if you enjoyed. Stick with the Sticky Man by subscribing. If you've already subscribed, I love you very much. Thank you very much. Join the Discord. It'll be in the description below. Just click it. Join us. 19 people in there. Let's have a chat. Yeah? Great. Thank you very much. I shall see you in the next video.